Hi, my name is Dhruv Tripathi, and today I'm going to talk about the 10 most important fashion forecasting tips, or you can say the steps to forecast the future trends very, very accurately. But remember, these 10 steps are not for the beginners, but these steps are for the advanced students or for the professional. So if you're looking to join our professional fashion forecasting course, you can just join at our website that is mentioned below in our description link. So let's start with to understand what are the key top trend steps to forecast the future accurately. So the first step that nobody gonna tell you is to understand the consumer brain. Why consumer brain? See, whatever the decision that we actually make or the information that we process is getting processed by your brain. Remember, you see a lot of things daily. You are visiting any shop, you are swiping your Instagram stories or on any social media. You see a lot of things daily or throughout from day to night. A lot of things are actually passing through your eyes, and these informations are actually getting processed by your brain. So to understand how the consumer are making the decisions, it's very, very crucial to understand the consumer brain. So this is the first and the most important step to understand how consumers decide. So this is why it is very important that you know how the brain is working. The second step is to extract the uh, consumer personality and their traits. So remember, it is very important to understand that whatever the product that you see or whatever the product that you look to buy, you always want they support your lifestyle. That should actually connect with your personality, with your traits, with your behavior. And remember, your personalities and traits are actually, building your identity as well. So the product that you are actually going to buy will also build your own identity, and your identity is the outcome of your personality, behavior, and the traits. So this is why when you're looking to forecast the future, you must understand the consumer personality, their traits, and their behavior. Once you got to know that, okay, this is the consumer personality, this is their behavior, this is their traits, you are ready to develop a product actually that will support the lifestyle of the consumer, that will align with the consumer personality. So whenever somebody is going to buy a product, and if they find, okay, this product is actually a right choice for their personality, they feel the feel and emotional connection with that particular product. And if the product is not able to make any emotional connection, that product is not going to work. So when you're looking to forecast the future, it is very important that the product that you are going to develop, the colors, the prints, the material, the texture, everything will be connected with the particular personality. There are number of personalities. There are multiple personalities, multiple types of behavior. So for multiple types of behavior, multiple types of personality, we need to target a product differently. We need to build a different or multiple types of product to support, or multiple types of color that we need to utilize in our product development process. So this is the second step. And then the third step is to learn about the culture and its impact on the our lifestyle. See, the culture is a most important factor that actually guides your life. So whenever you start your life, whenever you take your birth, and from your birth to till you die, your culture remains with you. For example, in a certain community, in certain religion, whenever kids or a baby is born, there is a kind of rituals that actually they perform, and when they get 1 year old or 2 years old, again some rituals are there to actually connect with that baby, or there's some blessing ceremony or some kind of ceremony rituals are performed. Or for example, if you look around yourself, whatever your parents are actually doing as a cultural rituals, they actually influence your brain, and they actually gradually connects with you. And throughout the lifestyle, throughout the life, you are actually following those rituals. And your whenever you get old, whenever there's another kid born, the same kid actually getting again connected with that particular ritual. So this is why it is important to understand the culture and its impact on the lifestyle. So cultures, so consumer values are born from the culture, and people buy what aligns with those values. So to predict what they will choose next, what your consumers going to choose next, you need to understand the culture forces they live by. Then the fourth step is to understand and build the consumer profile. So we already understood that how our brain works, how consumer personalities, identity, and their traits are actually getting involved in forecasting process. And the third step, we got to know the importance of culture in the consumer value system, and why those culture values are must be satisfied with your product. So following these four steps, so following those three steps, you need to build your consumer profile. So when we talk about the consumer profile for the fashion industry, you will have to add various things. So a more powerful consumer, uh, so a more powerful consumer profile, the more you get a better understanding of your consumers, your buyers. So your consumer profile is not just like a simple database profile. It's basically a multi-layered understanding of who your audience truly is. And it starts with the understanding of consumer values, their behavior, their personality, their traits, and it goes beyond of that. So basically, suppose that you want to build your consumer profile, so what you will have to add, maybe like their age group, their demographic, and these initial steps. But apart from those things, you'll have to also understand where your consumers are looking to visit. Maybe they want to go for a holiday, but where they want to go for their vacation, where they want to actually visit, where they go for the date, what types of date actually they love, who are their favorite actors, what are their favorite time pass. So many things that you could actually include in your consumer profile. Then once you have built your consumer profile, you know what exactly you need to build for your customers. You know what colors, what product, what uh, style, what print actually your consumer will actually love to wear. So if you are not building your consumer profile, you might be like playing in a dark actually. Maybe you might be trying a lot of things, but systematic approach is a very important thing in your fashion forecasting process. So the fourth step to build your consumer profile is a very, very important step. And then the next and the fifth step is your understanding of building a 360-degree trend mapping tool. So a 360-degree trend mapping approach is essential. It is very important to uncover the future consumer needs across every lifestyle dimension. So basically, we need to build our trend mapping tool based on the consumer lifestyle dimensions that you could actually get to know if you join our course. So this particular step is very crucial to build a consumers based trend map. And remember, those trends that we are actually adding in our uh, trend mapping tool should always connect with the consumer emotion, their personality, their consumer values. So if those trends that you're actually extracting around you are not actually getting connected with the consumer personality. They might be not accurate. So remember, you need to understand your, you know, industry, and based on your industry, you need to build your consumer profile, and based on your consumer profile, you need to start working on that your trend mapping tools. So once you have built your trend mapping tool, you are ready to move to the next step. That is the sixth step. Here in the sixth step, we're gonna actually start working on our trendometer. So trendometer is our tool to identify which trends that we have actually gathered in our trend mapping process is important based on your time frame. For example, if you're working in a fashion industry and your time frame is 2 years, 2.5 years, so you will have to understand which trends gonna actually be more important in those 2.5 years. So trendometer is a basically uh, your trend uh, strength guide. Basically, which trend is more important, which trend is not important. So basically, which trend is important, which trend is not important for a particular time frame will be guided by your trendometer. So once you have built your trendometer, your next step is to create a multiple future scenarios. So based on whatever the trend that you have actually identified in your trendometer, the next step is to identify the multiple future scenarios. So you will have to build the multiple future scenario based on the trend identified. So for example, you have a trend X or Y trend. So you'll have to understand this particular trend scenario. So what will be the scenario after 5 year, 6 year, or which what are the key things that actually supports those scenarios. So you'll have to understand the scenarios of that particular trend, understanding the feasibility of that particular trend in terms in the context of your business, or in the context of your industry, or the stakeholders of your business. Will it be feasible to apply those trends for your business or not? How fast you can actually apply those trends, how rapidly these trends could be actually applied, and how profitable will that trend will be that trend for your business. So this is why it is very important to understand those trends should be feasible based on your time frame based scenario planning. So scenario planning is also a very important step, and we have in our trend forecasting class, we have a very special detailed understanding of how the scenarios actually work. So you can actually join our course to understand how the scenario actually work, how the scenario planning actually works. And the next step is our building of the uh, so the next step is to identify the uncertainties. So you have the scenarios, you have the your uh, key time frame. So we'll have to understand the uncertainties with respect to those scenario planning. If those scenarios are uh, really useful for your business, if there's kind of uncertainties, the different uncertainty based on the particular time frame. So we'll have to build a uncertainty template, a time frame based uncertainty matrix that we will have to build, and based on the extracted uncertainties, we'll actually decide if that particular trend or scenario will be applicable for your business, or these particular scenarios are gonna be there after 2 years or 3 years or 5 years. So this is very important to understand and to identify the uncertainties. Then the next step is the ninth step is to build the influence diagram. So you have already your uncertainty and certainty based identification of the particular scenarios. Now you have got the trend, final trend. So the next step is to further make sure that the trend that you have actually got is going to be successful for your business. So what you have to do is to build the influence diagram. What are the key influences? Those are actually gonna affect your trends. So if you're not understanding those influences on your trends, it might be possible that particular trend is not actually going to work, or some distractions are there in your trend building process. So it is very important to work on your influence diagram. By uncovering key drivers and their interconnectedness, you can gain the clarity and confidence in which emerging trend you need to actually invest your money. So this is a very important step, and we have a very detailed understanding of it, influence diagram in our course, so that you can actually start, understand, you start finding the key influences, and those influences, how they are actually, uh, creating a problem or supporting your trends. And the next step and the final step is your visualizing the forecasted trend. So what you will have to do, you have got the idea. This is the final trend that actually going to work for your business. So the next step is to visualize the trend through the mood board, through visual appeal. So basically, what happens, uh, if you're going to share those trends with your colleagues, those trends are actually uh, going to be very appealing. So whatever the visual thing people see, they actually understand these are the key things that actually matters for them, and they can actually remember it for a very longer period of the time. And visual things are always appealing. People remember it more than the text based things. So if you're just sharing the trends in the text format, people might forget it, may not be able to understand or grasp it very easily or very rapidly. So if you're just sharing the visual things, like the mood board, the color board, your print board or fabric board, or whatever the industry you're working on, these things will actually support, make your trends, make understanding of your trends very easy. So these are the trend steps that actually very important for your trend forecasting journey. So you might be looking to join our trend forecasting course that gonna actually help you to join it.